Alright, we're back, and today we're going to do some body bushings on a red TJ Rubicon. This is almost the exact same Jeep as Black Betty you've seen before. It's a 2005 TJ Rubicon. It has about 75,000 miles and it's 14 years old. So it's time to give the bushings a fresh makeover. I believe there's, about 5, 10, 8 body bushings that we're going to replace. There's some up front, the back, the sides. We'll go through all of them. There's also some bushings or some nubs type things that are right here along the body line that we're going to replace too. So it should be a pretty easy job. Hopefully we won't have too many issues. The Jeep is a little rusty, so we'll see how it goes. But stand by and we'll go around and see how it goes. Okay, so right here is an example of one of the bushings we're going to replace. You can kind of see right here the rubber is a little corroded and cracking and old and probably isn't doing much support or cushion anymore. It looks like the sides are bulging out and it's time to get rid of them. And now what we're going to do on these is we're going to actually replace them with some polyurethane bushings. And the good thing about polyurethane, well, here goes a good example right here. This bushing is all messed up. It's all squished out and cracked. Now the polyurethane bushings are going to give us more longevity with the bushings. They're not going to collapse like the rubber were, like the rubber wheel I should say. But the polyurethane also is going to be a little stiffer of a ride. All right, so a side-by-side comparison. This is the bushing I just showed you a minute ago, the one that was all blown out, and this is the replacement bushing. Yeah, there's a big difference. And like I said earlier in the intro, that these on this side are rubber bushings, and these are polyurethane. So the ones on the right are gonna last a lot longer, but they are more rigid. And also I wanna mention the reason you replace body bushings, because as these collapse and give out, what could happen is the body could shift and the panels could not line up. Not a big deal on Jeeps because it's like a unibody big tub. There's not many body panels that move around a whole lot, but on most vehicles, you have door jamb issues, trunk deck issues, all things that come with the body not being lined up. So that's the reason for body bushings. All right, so this here is a perfect example of a bushing that is clearly shot. As you can see, the whole seams are busted out, and this one has got to go. This is probably the worst one that I've seen of the bunch. The rest of them aren't quite as bad, but this Jeep is definitely due for a bushing makeover. All right, so now that we got underway and we have all the bushings loosened up and some bolts removed, what I found was, or what we found I should say, was we found some more bushings we did not know about. So what I did was I went through and I marked all the locations on one side with blue tape so you can get a better idea of where the bushings are. So we have one at the rear corner of the body. We have another one that's beyond here. It's actually right up inside here. It's in the front of the gas tank. There's a bushing, so that makes 2. Then we'll come back over here. Then we have 3, 4, 5. And then as we move around to the front of the Jeep, like I said before, we have this one here, this little nub, that's 6. And then we have the unicorn bushing up front, and that's gonna be 7. Now, the one up front is a singular bushing, there's not one on both sides, but the other ones here, there's a matching one, or bushing on each side of the Jeep. So I believe we have all the locations. And as you can see with the jack and the gapping, the spacing we have right here, we got about 3 fingers to get the front bushing out. And it's going along pretty smoothly right now. We'll see how it goes. I will say that these bushings were a pain in the ass to get out. I'm sorry, the bolts were a pain in the ass to get out. They're really rusted in there. So it took us a little bit of elbow grease and some persuasion to get them out, but they came out. So we're narrowing in on halfway done. We have the front nub in. This one here, all it required was pulling the old one out, and it pretty much disintegrated, so that was easy. But took a little WD-40, and you can see the cone shape right here, how it goes in. So I lubed that up real well. But then as it goes in to the body, it wants to shrink and compress and fatten out. So I took a pry bar and just leveraged it underneath here and came up and gave a little bit of persuasion, I guess you could say. And it went in relatively easily once you figured out how to do it. So just some pressure up off the sway bar and in, and that one went in pretty easy. Matt has gone ahead and got these here staged in and ready to go. The bolts aren't in, but the bushings are all in and ready to go. We did reuse the old hardware as the instructions do call for. So we have 4 in right now, and then he's working on the back one right there, and better him than me because you can kind of see he's way up in here, kind of. Let's see if I get the camera in here.
It's up plate above the fuel tank.
Where's it at? It's like right inside here somewhere.
You want to lift the body a little?
Okay, so that's where the other one goes. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about is I do not advocate what I do with this this jack right here. I mean, it's pretty unsafe, but it's what we have, so we're trying to be as safe as possible. Find a better method than that. Unfortunately, with these big Jeeps, it's kind of hard to get jacks to go up that high, but just be careful. Don't be dumb like we are. All right, so we got the front unicorn body bushing loose. This is gonna just drop right out. This is the bolt that came out of it. We ended up using these 4x4s on the jack to jack up the core support. Not the strongest part, obviously, but it's not frame because we gotta undo the body from the frame, so we had to go someplace. And this is in between the radiator and the frame, so the strongest point we have, and we just shifted the weight as best we could. But once we do that, this will just drop right out, and then we'll come in through here and just pop out the body bushing, and it'll just slide right out. And this is what's left of the body bushing. So the front one really was not hard to get out. I was a little worried about it, but ended up doing just fine. So with the new one slid in here in a second, and we'll be on our way. All right, cool, welcome back. So we have finished half the Jeep. The driver's side is done. The front and rear is done. Matt's over on the passenger side, wrapping that up right now. What we have found, putting these bushings in, is we discussed earlier amongst ourselves on a video, but the fan shroud could possibly get in the way when lifting up the body from the frame because of motors attached to the frame and the fan will stay stationary. But when changing the body mounts, that was not necessary. If you're going to change the body mounts in coordination with doing a body lift, then removing the fan shroud is absolutely necessary. If you don't do so, the fan's going to hit the bottom of the shroud and cause some damage. So if you're going to lift the Jeep, always remove the fan shroud from the radiator because that is necessary. But we have found in just a straight up swap for swap bushing mount or bushing replacement, that is not required. Also, make sure you use caution when you're ordering the body bushings for your Jeep that you get the right ones. It turns out that the early model TJs do have different body bushings than the late model TJs. We discovered the hard way that the bushing kit we got is actually for early models, late 99 model, and ours is the 2005, so we are running into some issues there. We'll get it wrapped up and fixed up here a little bit later on. All right, so that about wraps it up for this episode of Fix My Jeep. As you can see here, the body bushings are about done. We have the old ones sitting right here, the box of the old no good rubber bushings. And we have a fresh set of polyurethane bushings that, according to their advertising, should last forever. So we'll see how that goes. We wheel these Jeeps pretty hard and see if they hold up. As you can see, here's a couple of the old ones that didn't quite last out the years. And that wraps it up. So thanks for joining us, and don't forget, if you like the video, be sure to click like, subscribe, and stick around for more videos.